I really want to create a community where, I want to break down the negative stereotyping of people from marginalized backgrounds and people that are coming out of prison. That's number one. And two, I want to create a community where people support these individuals to have second chances, for them to be able to give back to their communities.
Hi guys, this podcast explores the importance of our connection, well-being and mental health. To reason with someone is to motivate them to do or accept topics, ideas and issues through discussion and having conversations. This podcast is for those that want to raise their awareness, change their perspective or just have a good time. My vision is to help people find reason to live, to grow and to understand. I do that through this podcast as well as counselling individuals that want to help themselves.
No, he needs to know.
I just think he's gonna talk and it's gonna make a lot of sense.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
One man, one podcast. 3, 2, 1. Reason With Me podcast, episode 8.
It's time!
Welcome back. Another episode today. I'm super excited about this one. I hope everyone's doing good and they've listened to a few of the podcasts so far. As you can tell, season 2, we are cracking into heaps more guests and trying to get some really innovative and different sort of styles to come in here and talk and reason with me and reason with the audience about what's going on and how that relates back to our connection, mental health and well-being. You get the drift. Let's get straight into it today. I'm introducing Joe today. Joe was sentenced 13 years in prison for directing a criminal enterprise. Now today, instead of doing that, he's the director and founder of a social enterprise called ConFit, with the mission to reduce the rates of recidivism in Australia and to coach and mentor former inmates to become leaders and outstanding members of society. ConFit, or Convict Fitness, is an idea that started from a prison cell, creating a platform to bridge the social gap between former inmates and the community by offering prison-style training. Joe strives to create second chances by breaking down some preconceived notions of criminal stereotypes through a human and person-centered approach. I'm super proud to be able to talk to you today, Joe. Let's get into it. Joe, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jackson.
Yeah, so look, we'll go straight into it. What I want to know is, who the hell are you and what do you do?
So my name is Joe. I'm the head coach and founder at Convict Fitness, otherwise known as ConFit. You can read it at the back.
Yep.
So our mission is to reduce the rates of recidivism through fitness. And we want to give second chances to those who are coming out of prison and those who are from marginalized communities by helping them to give back to the community through fitness. So that's what ConFit is initially designed to do. And this all started because I did time myself. At the age of 21, I got sentenced to 13 years in prison for directing a criminal enterprise, mainly for selling MDMA, the importation and supply of MDMA. My life changed pretty much. Growing up, I grew up in a community full of drugs and full of gang influence.
Yeah.
And I never took the normal path that normal Asian community kids take. They go to school, they go to university, and I was always a black sheep. I'm always the one that at the early age questioning why, and I've always had an entrepreneurial flair. You hear all these entrepreneurs talking about how they used to sell orange juices and candy when they were young.
Yeah. For
For me, I was knocking off porno mags from news agencies, and I was selling pages of naked pictures to kids at school. And that was my first lesson in don't trust anyone because they're gonna snitch on you. Because the kids got caught with the pages and they snitched on me straight away, and it's pretty embarrassing calling my mum down to a primary school and the principal explaining to my mum, your son's been selling porno mags. But ever since then, I've always chosen the wrong thing to sell. And I got to high school and I was never interested in education, more interested in making money. And I was more street smart than I was book smart.
Yeah.
So at school, I started from small things like selling pot. I was always involved in gang activity. Things started getting bigger and bigger. And I got introduced to this thing called MDMA one day. Someone gave me ecstasy. And for most kids, they'll be thinking, how am I going to take this again? In my mind, I'm thinking, how the fuck am I going to sell this to everyone?
Yeah.
That's my mind. And one thing led to another. Things started getting pretty big and I started running. I detached from my gang, ended up creating my own syndicate, had people running for me. And then, and this was when I was 19, 20. And then a month after my 21st birthday, I was at the Shangri-La Hotel. I had a coffee table full of cash. It was about a bit over $250,000 cash.
Shit.
And I was counting the money and I got a knock on the door and I'm thinking it's room service. So I put like a sheet over the coffee table telling these guys to come in. And the door swings open and, there's all these guys in balaclavas and masks coming in with machine guns. And straight away in my head, I'm thinking, fucking, I'm getting robbed. I look out the window and I'm like, I'm not going to make the fall if I jump out the window. So first thing I'm thinking, these guys are after the money. So I've thrown the cash everywhere. And next thing I know, I'm getting hogtied on the floor and I'm getting wheeled off to prison at the age of 21. And I go to jail and, I'm thinking my life is over. Fucking, this is the shit that you see in the movies, right? I'm a young kid, don't know anything about this kind of stuff. I remember the first day getting wheeled into the wing and I see these big buffed up, they're men, right? These guys are men.
Yeah.
Like tattoos on their face. All of them, they're jacked as hell and they're all training. And I'm this little skinny kid, I've never trained. I've got a black belt taekwondo. That's my background, but never did I have the experience of like training and stuff. It was just like, I know a little bit of martial arts, but that's about it,
Yeah.
And
there's a rude shock.
Yeah, it was a rude shock. And to be honest, if anyone says that they're not afraid when they first go to jail, I reckon they're bullshitting because it's a new environment. If you've been to jail before, like even if you go to a new wing, you're a little bit, you're thinking, oh, who's there? Do I know anyone there? Like what's it going to be like? Because when you go there, you're a fish out of water. A lot of people straight away, they're sussing you out, seeing who you are. And like that was a new chapter of my life, I guess. After a certain time, a lot of people, they get accustomed to the environment, and as fucked up as it was, like jail is not a normal place. It is like a pressure cooker in there. You've got people, they're not in their right minds. A lot of people coming off drugs. They've got court cases going on. So it's a very unstable environment, if you have to say.
Yeah.
And things kick off really quick. So you either sink or swim. You got to learn really quick to be able to adapt into that environment. So that was a new chapter of my life, and I adapted quick. That's the thing about growing up in the streets. I learned how to be street smart rather than book smart, right? It was the same thing in prison. I was street smart, knew who to talk to, knew who to make connections with, and that was my life for a little while. And then I got to about halfway mark, and so much things happened in my life in that. So I spent 9 years of a 13-year sentence in prison, and I hit the halfway mark, which was the minimum amount of time that you have to do, which is the 9 years. And I hit 4.5 years, and I was like, is that it? A lot of people are celebrating, yes, half down, half to go. And I'm thinking, you got to be kidding. Is there another half to go? And instant depression straight away. And the only way I stayed positive in there was through fitness, and to have positive people around me. And there's another story why I started to actually form communities of fitness people in jail. But the main reason was because I wanted to be around positive people, to always think positive. So it's like, how do you keep positive in the most negative place on earth? Arguably one of the most negative places on earth. And it's a practice that I still preach today in my training to my clients, which is, I call these things the 3Gs: gratitude, goals, and being grounded. Be grateful for what you have and what you don't have, rather than what you don't have. So even if even the clothes on our back belonged to prison, we had nothing but our actual body. That was the only belonging that belonged to us and our thoughts. And, the officers had every right to take anything away from you because it was their property. Nothing belonged to you, right? In prison, they can take any materialistic things away from you, and this will affect inmates. That's how officers used to get you. They're like, this belongs to the system. We're going to take this off you. You can have that. You're going to feel like shit. And I didn't want to feel like that anymore. So the one thing they couldn't take away from me was my body and how I felt. It was my emotions, my mind, and my thought. And, we're in a state of like crisis at the moment, Corona. A lot of people are incarcerated in their homes, feeling a little bit depressed and feeling a little incarcerated. And how do you feel? How do you stay positive in situations like this? You've got to be grateful for what you have. So I try to develop things that they couldn't take away from me, the non-materialistic things, which was my health, my body, my mind. So having to practice gratitude, to be thankful for the things that I did have in my life, to set goals, which was for myself, was to have hope in the future, because I know I'm going out soon, to plan for the things. So even when Corona, this whole situation finishes, we're going to go back to a normal life, or somewhat to a normal life. And we got to prepare for that. So we got to set in place plans and goals, or hope for things to happen, and that was what drove me as well. And the last thing was being grounded. So last G is being grounded in the moment. And what that actually means is I kept on comparing myself to everyone on the outside. When I was in prison, the guys that I used to look after, the ones that I used to feed when I was running my drug syndicate, were all moving on in their life, having kids, having families, having businesses, succeeding in life. Those people who I saw around me that I used to grow up with, they're all moving ahead in life, and I'm stuck in jail. I'm not going anywhere. Nothing's happening in my environment. And I kept on comparing myself to these guys and to the rest of society. And I was like, it was toxic to my body, toxic to my mind, toxic to my body. And mind and the body is connected. And what happens, the toxic stuff that happens in here happens in the body, right? So I was like, how do I detach myself from that? I said, you know what? I stopped thinking about the things that I couldn't control and just started focusing on the things that I could control, which was right now, right here in this present moment. What can I do to make myself a better person, to change myself? So the common denominator that I found in prison was the lack of education amongst inmates. So I was never educated. I told you, I flunked out of every high school, or I got expelled from every high school. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to try something that I've never done before. This is like beyond the realms of my reality, but I'm going to do something crazy. So I took on education. I decided, so I read a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't know if you've read that before. They talk about, the language of business is accounting, right? So I've gone to the library. I've got myself an accounting textbook, and the moment I opened it up, I wanted to close it up again. It looked like reading hieroglyphics, and I was like sweating, like cold sweat, looking at this. Like, what the fuck is this shit? Like it was like a foreign, like looked like the Egyptian writing, the hieroglyphics. That's what it looked like to me. I was like, this is gibberish, Yeah. And the moment I started, I wanted to quit, but when you want something so bad, like the universe brings people together. Like it's like the law of attraction, and I think it's meant to be. So ended up meeting this guy who ended up becoming my cellie, and he's an accountant, a billionaire accountant, who not only taught me the value of education, but he taught me accounting and about business, and most important, about self-worth. And he was my first ever positive mentor that I've ever had in my life. And that's when I learned about mentorship, how important that is. And what I do at ConFit is the same thing. We mentor ex-inmates to be able to give back to society through fitness or whatever that may be. So that's what ConFit is.
So
and
So Man, those you kind of answering my next question, which is you said gratitude, goals, and being
Yeah,
grounded. Now that
yeah,
sounds like the things that are getting you through and what really was allowed you to achieve whilst you're in prison. So
100%.
I guess what I want to know is where do you pull your strength from to be able to even have that on board? Like where does it all come from to be able to have such that determination and clear mindset?
Yeah. So I guess it's hard for people when you have so much options and choices in society. You know, this all started because everything was stripped back to bare minimum. I had nothing. Literally, when I thought about it, right, when I was in jail, before I went to jail, I had money. I had all the materialistic things. I had everything going for me. And, but you know what? That was all. When I took away all these materialistic things, going to prison, officers taking away the little things that I had, and I realized, shit, I've got nothing. Without all my materialistic things, I really had to look at myself. Who am I? I'm this uneducated young kid who had a chip on his shoulder and thought he had everything because he was hustling and busting here and there, living comfortably for a 21-year-old kid. But when all that was taken away, I realized I don't have anything in my life that actually makes sense, or that is actually concrete. I don't have anything that's within. So I was like, I want to develop things that I can really ground myself in. So I always tell people, be grateful for the little things, for the simple things that you have in front of you. Let's start off with your health. Let's start off with your ability to do things, your ability to actually make a change. So your ability to go down to do something today, right? So example, I plan today to go to the park and I want to go for a 20-minute jog around the park. Your ability to do that, be grateful for it. But guess what? When you're in jail, you can't even do that. You want to get out of that cell that you've been stuck in for the last 2 weeks because, like there's a lockdown, someone got shanked or some sort of incident happens in the yard. Security wise, they're not going to let anyone out until they solve the problem, what's going on, right? So sometimes you're stuck in your cell for 2 weeks at a time, right? And you want to be going out to go for a walk. Your ability, even in this time, to go out to be able to do that, you should be grateful for that. So you have to understand the small things that a lot of people go, oh, I want to be grateful for these like massive things. Like I want to be grateful for life and I want to be grateful for the house that I have. But hey, scale it back. Just the simple things, we can't we're born into this world with nothing. We go with nothing. Unless you're a twin, you're born with a twin. But besides that, you come into the world by yourself and you leave by yourself, right? So at the end of the day, all these materialistic things doesn't really matter. It only matters in this life. But I just want you to, what I'm trying to say is, even if you have everything, you're not going to be grateful for all that if you can't be grateful for the smallest things.
Yeah.
Like there's a saying, if you're not grateful for $1, you can't be grateful for $1 million.
Yeah.
You're still not going to be grateful.
It sounds so aligned with that, I guess, that ConFit motto where it's like train to be free. That sounds so
Right?
there it is. Yeah. It sounds so similar to that simple, let's train for the fact that we can and we will, and that liberty that we get from doing that. So I guess I want you to reason with me and our audience about ConFit and how important that is in our society, in our community, in terms of bringing people together and our connection and our overall well-being. Tell me a little bit more about all of that, Joe.
So the biggest stigma, the problem that I found when I came out of prison was the fact that as soon as I told people about my background, the guard came up straight away. You can see it even on their faces. They're like, like they got that fake smile going on. I'm okay with this, but inside I know they're not okay with it. And look, there's a lot of movies and there's a lot of material out there for people to be worried. I understand that it's just social norms, right? But what I wanted to say was like, I really didn't think of myself as a bad person. I made some bad choices. I I was a product of my environment, if you have to say.
Yeah.
But it was more towards ignorance, I guess, growing up. You know, I was never exposed to the opportunities and the possibilities that I could become something else. So I really want to create a community where, you know, I want to break down the negative stereotyping of people from marginalized backgrounds and people that are coming out of prison. That's number one. And two, I want to create a community where people support these individuals to have second chances, for them to be able to give back to their communities. Why I started ConFit was, okay, for instance, how do you get a 7th generation public housing, someone who grew up in public housing, 7th generation, right, to interact with a young professional from the inner city suburbs? How do you get these people to connect on a social level? You know, it's very hard.
Yeah.
You know, I know government tries these things as well. That's what you call, you know, everyone says, you know, rehabilitation.
Yeah.
To rehabilitate someone is to plug them out of their existing environment, put them into something new, to change. Because if they go back to their old life, it's a recurring cycle.
Yeah.
How do you plug these people out? So the best way to do that is to mix them with people that aren't in that circle. But how do you actually do that? It is freaking hard to do that, right? And
not the norm.
What I created was, so right now ConFit is an outdoor fitness boot camp, and what I call it is, it's not a boot camp, it's a platform. It's a platform for ex-inmates to be trainers and to be leaders who can give back to the community, and for the rest of the community to be able to train with ex-inmates on this platform through fitness, doing what they love doing, right? And they can connect that way. You know, it is now I've formed a mini community within a community. It's a fitness community where inmates can give back, and they can actually help, you know, the community to get fit, not just physically, but around mindset as well. And in return, the community can help these ex-inmates. For instance, hey, do you want to come out on a social event with us? I'll introduce you to this guy. This guy can help you with, you know, whatever that may be, you know, finding an apartment, job, or like, whatever, you know, hey, there's a mad conference that I want to invite you to come down with me. Now you just made that connection with these people that you wouldn't be able to in another setting.
100%. I mean, that's exactly the experience when I was at your launch day in Redfern Park. And man, there was no us in them. Like, it just wasn't there. It was like, it's just a community of people that were all coming together to be connected with each other through a platform, like you're saying, that just doesn't see anything in these other stereotypes or norms that we live in. And it just breaks down the reality that, you know, we're all people, and we're all just trying to do what we need to do. And train in a way that's going to help us build and get that confidence and support each other.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
And, you know, train to be free is not, so it's a motto that I started in jail, you know. For me, training was a way to escape the realities of prison. And, you know, I was training to be free in the inside. I think for a lot of people on the outside as well, we live in society, and, you know, why are you really training? A lot of people train to look good for social media. You know, they're so worried about, you know, like how I'm looking, I'm getting a little bit fat, and they're a prison to social media, they're a prison to what other people are saying. They're not free. They're training for the wrong reasons. I want to create a community of people. They're training because they want to be free. It's a way for them to feel good. It's a way for them to feel happy, to be positive. You know, that is what training to be free is. And, you know, training is a gateway to other areas of your life. You know, I didn't train to just be fit. I trained because it was a discipline for me that is a transferable skill to other areas of my life. For example, my education, around family and friends. You know, it's a tool to be able to kind of use in your other areas of your life. And I hope that can be for others too.
100%. I mean, that's definitely the way that I do things. I mean, I work out and I do quite a lot of yoga, and at the end of the day, the physical component of that is a bonus. The fact that I can work out and, potentially look a certain way, that's all hearsay. That's all like well and good after the fact. But what I'm doing it for is I'm replenishing myself and feeling that good way about my mental health and my overall well-being, so that I can go out and do the work that I do. And it sounds like that's sort of the philosophy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Definitely, man.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I guess what have you found? Like what is the consensus with some of the clients that you've been seeing?
So look, the fact that my business is built around a social cause, it has a mission. Our mission is to reduce the rate of recidivism through breaking down negative stereotyping, and to provide second chances for individuals who deserve a second chance. And obviously by offering great fitness, a lot of our training has been formulated in prison. So we're providing our clients with a little bit of inside prison knowledge, prison fitness knowledge. And, people loving that, especially now, during COVID, like my little marketing campaign is, hey, we've now become the experts in confined space bodyweight training, because that's what we used to do in our prison cell. We had this little tiny space, and we used to do a lot of training in that little confined space, finding, smart and creative ways to stay fit. And, there's a lot of people, being stuck at home and, confined to their living rooms. The my online business has kind of skyrocketed. A lot of people training with me online, and people are very at the start intrigued. Then once they find out about the story, and once they actually train with the trainers, myself and the other boys, they start to realize, hey, these guys, they're just normal people, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not, but I guess you got to experience it. You can never judge without you experiencing something yourself.
100%.
So that's what I've been finding with people. Yeah.
It sounds like you're shifting people's reasons, like you're shifting people's perspective. When they come on, they're coming in to get a workout, and maybe I'm going to get a home workout from this guy. He looks good online, and he's going to give me this good workout. But then as you get on board and you attend a few times, I think that social change is so contagious, and you then they start to then go, I'm training for a different reason. My purpose is shifted as to why I'm working out.
Yeah, exactly. It just adds a bonus to why you're training, to feel good, to feel fit, and then you're helping to make society a better place, I guess, to form a holistic community. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, gyms or PTs out there that are doing things, and, good for them. But I think the thing that you're backing is such an insightful and innovative way of doing things and bringing people together, and it being so much more about, working out. It's fun, and it's quirky as well. Tell me about the tuna can. I've seen that a few times.
Talking about tuna cans, is sitting right next to me. Look at this.
Yeah, you've always got it.
I can't get away from these things. So recently, in the Easter edition of the Australian Financial Review, they actually did a story on ConFit and how inmates use tuna cans in such an innovative. It wasn't really innovative way. It was just like, because we had nothing else.
Yeah.
Tuna cans is like a form of currency inside. So we've got the Serena chili tuna. So that's like inside prison. Outside, 185 gram is like 450. Inside, it's like 480. So if you can afford a chili tuna, you're like high rolling, right?
Yeah,
so it's a form of currency, because we don't have money in this. We've got a barter system. So tuna can, I'll be like, I'll give you 5 tuna cans if you do this for me, or like, a lot of people use that to gamble with, or, for me, I just ate it. I loved it.
Yeah, you love it.
The protein. Yeah, that was my only form of macro, like proper protein that I could get. Yeah. But a lot of the boys used to also use tuna cans as a form of equipment for training. So, when we used to do push-ups, we used to do push-ups on top of the tuna cans. You could get the deeper stretch. And in maximum security jail, you have your tuna can inside your sock. And when you're training, because everyone's got their shirts off when they train, like sometimes like shit goes down in the yard, and you can use that as a self-defense weapon because you've got the sock in the tuna can. It becomes like a nunchuck or a battering ram.
Who would have thought? Tuna's so versatile.
It's a little inside joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny, but it does get serious in there sometimes, and you just got to be on the balls of your feet. Just got to be really aware of your surroundings and what's going on. And I remember when I first got out of jail, for about 6 months, I couldn't have my back away from a wall. Like I had to be sitting on a wall all the time because I've seen some pretty horrific stuff happen. I guess it's a little bit of trauma at the end of the day. When you see something like that go down, that you're thinking, "Fuck, that could happen to me." And when you're thinking about that same thing all the time, it's just ingrained in your body until you adapt to a new environment. It took about 6 months for me to kind of snap out of that and go, "Hey, I'm pretty safe out here. It's not bad."
And that's where I think what's so inspiring from you, Joe, is the fact that you use those things like gratitude and grounding yourself and having those goals. Like if you don't have that shit on board, like you're definitely gonna stay fucking anxious and stay traumatized even if you're out of jail. But you sort of persevered and said, I clearly need to have a clear head if I'm gonna have any chance of doing well moving forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, whether you're inside or you're outside, you have to be moving forward. Constantly, you got to be growing. You got to be moving forward. The moment you feel like, I think I'm cool, I'm satisfied with what I have, you stop going, and it does something to your mind as well. Like you become very complacent, and a bit lazy as well. So in there, I just didn't want to be complacent or lazy. I just wanted to keep on moving forward. And I guess that's like growing a muscle, It's like a wheel, like a muscle or wheel, like a willpower. And even out here, I'm constantly trying to move forward. How do I get better? How do I learn new skills? And at the same time, how do I help others to do the same as well? It's not just about myself, This world is not about yourself. You're not the only one living in this world. You're surrounded by your immediate community. You're surrounded by your society, and you're surrounded by everyone in the world. It's like, how do we move forward together? Man. And that's what we need to all strive for.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful because we're a collective, and we got to choose to be that way because we're so individualistic in our Western societies, and it's especially in times like this in the COVID-19 shit. It's if we don't come together, we might as well be in prison in a cell lockdown. We got to connect where we can. So let's wind it down a little bit, and what I really want to know is, I guess, outside of exercise and some of the other things that you've mentioned, what is the main thing that you do for self-care, and like what is like a non-negotiable thing in Joe's life that you would not risk to give up?
Not risk to give up. My protein. I know. Like, look, lately I've been going vegetarian. I've been trying vegetarian, but food is something that's so important to me. And like I said, talking about gratitude, when you've had all this food taken away from you, and all you were eating was black and gold spring water tuna, and sometimes you can't even like gulp this down. So I actually like swallow it, like put tuna in my mouth and swallow it just whole with water. And you've been eating things like that for years and years, and you get access to this food. You're grateful for it, So sometimes I regret a little bit because I'm always healthy, but I always eat things that I feel that is good as well. So obviously I got to find that balance. But when it comes to like chicken and protein, and I love it. Yeah, man. So in the week I have to have some sort of like good protein, like animal protein or even plant-based protein. Now I'm going with a lot of legumes and lentils and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's one thing. And for me, not one thing I can't get rid of, let go of is educating myself.
Mm.
The access to information is crazy, guys. Access, you've got unlimited access, like in prison, the little bit of information, I sucked that in like I was like a sponge, because there's nothing there. I rated the whole library, every book that I could read it. But, out here, there's so much things out there, you could just go on YouTube, things like, oh, I'm curious about something, and you can find something out straight away. That's knowledge for you. You don't have to go to university for these things.
Yeah.
It's accessible to you. It's free.
That's so
Use
cool.
it.
I mean, I think that, I definitely resonate with that, because you come off as such a sponge. Like, you're so willing to learn. You're so excited about where you can go from here. And I think that it's super contagious, right? Like, I think you make such an impact on the people that you talk to because of that passion, and because of the fact it's like, I'm gonna take it all in. I'm ready to hear it all. That's so cool. So, last question for you, Joe. You said you read a lot of books in prison, and I don't know how much variety there is in prison, but I guess now out of prison, what would be like a go-to book, something that's really helped you to get to where you are? And
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, by far.
Yeah.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I think I read that like 10, 11 times.
Yeah.
I've gone over and over and read it. Yeah, Think and Grow Rich is something that it's been around since the 30s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if
And
you haven't read it, go.
It's that old. It's probably falling apart.
It's not about, it sounds like Think and Grow Rich, and people go, oh, it's money.
Yeah.
But it's not about money. So you just got to really think what rich means to you, what wealth means to you.
Yeah.
If you get a chance, you should read that book. They're not talking about money. They're not talking about money.
Well, I'm gonna put a whole bunch of stuff on my website, and definitely I'll put a link to that book as well. But I guess I'll close, Joe, by saying, like, where can we find you? How can people reach out to you? What's going on for you at the moment?
Yep. So at the moment, I was running outdoor boot camps, outdoor fitness classes, group classes. Because of COVID-19, we've transitioned, pivoted the whole business model online. Cool. So you could find us on www.convictfitness.com.au. You can find me on Instagram at ConFitOz, or on Facebook as well. And come and join us for an online training session. Literally, you don't make excuses. If you're looking for some fun and a little bit of a kick up the ass and, some intense training, just jump online, just shoot me a message or like an email, and, I'll book you into a class or one of my online classes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Man, I've seen your videos. It looks intense. I've been reluctant to come in. I don't know if I can handle it.
Hey, if you never try, you never know,
Yeah, well,
I always say you have to try something at least once.
All right. Well, you gotta hold me to that. I'm gonna come and do a session with you.
That's it. Let's do it.
Just one, and you know what? At least I said I've done it. All right. Oh man, look,
100%.
Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, and an honor to talk to you on this podcast. And all
Thanks
that stuff
will
be linked back onto my website. And
Beautiful.
Yeah, man, all the best with everything you're doing. I think it's so great and so inspiring. I got so much more out of what I thought today. So that's honestly awesome. Thanks so much, Joe.
Thanks for having me as well.
Thank you.
Do you want to find out more about how therapy can help you kick some goals? Go check out findreasontherapy.com.au or the Find Reason Therapy Instagram page.